So, whenever you want to do anything new, like learn a new skill or build a good habit, you're going to come up against something that I call points of resistance. Now, once you call out these points of resistance for what they are and you start to recognize them, it gets much easier to overcome them more often than not. So, in this video, what I'm going to do is tell you what these points of resistance are so that you can start to recognize them and then give you some tips and tricks to overcome them when they come up. Hey, how's it going, guys? It's John Holt here with The Audio Journey, helping make music production accessible to all. And here on this channel, what I do is a variety of music production tutorials, mainly focused towards beginners and beyond. So if that's something that you might be interested in, then definitely consider subscribing. So what does a point of resistance actually look like in sort of day-to-day life? Let's say you're trying to learn music production. That's the target that you've set yourself. You want to start making electronic music in Ableton, for example. What you've done is you've said to yourself before you go to work, okay, I'm going to come home from work and I'm going to do an hour of working in Ableton, watching some tutorials, taking a course. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to work in Ableton for an hour, let's say. Now, when you do get home from work, maybe you're tired, maybe you've had a rough day, and you sit down and you think, I could sit down and do some work in Ableton, or there's that Netflix series that I really, really want to catch up on. That would be so much easier. I can do Ableton tomorrow. There's no time limit on that, whereas I really want to catch up on this series. That is a point of resistance right there. That is you trying to do something new, trying to learn a new skill, and there's an equal and opposite force, which is a point of resistance standing in your way of doing that. So there are a few things that you need to do when you come up against one of these points of resistance. And number one is recognize that this is a point of resistance. It's simple as that. Just say, this is one of those points of resistance that John mentioned. This is because I'm trying to do something new. I'm trying to learn a new skill or build a good habit. And there's always going to be an equal and opposite force to trying to do something meaningful. So that is one of these points of resistance. Just sit there, recognize it. Now, the second thing to do once you recognize that you've got a point of resistance in front of you is to say, okay, why did I sit down to do this in the first place? Why did I plan to do this? You need to reconnect to your why. If you're a DJ trying to learn electronic music production, then your why could be something along the lines of this. I'm a DJ and I want to take my career to the next level. And what you really need to do is put yourself in the position, or mentally put yourself in the position of having reached the finish line. So picture yourself stood behind the decks playing out one of your own productions to a few hundred people, a few thousand people, whoever, and seeing your track go down an absolute treat. So for me, that's definitely one of the reasons that I produce electronic music. I want to create that moment for people. But as a DJ, that could be the benefits of taking your career to the next level, getting bigger and better bookings once you've had a good release on a couple of labels, for example. So really, really dig in at this point of resistance and think, okay, yeah, this is why I plan to do this in the first place. Picture yourself behind the decks, the crowd going crazy. That is why you wanted to do this in the first place. And that's going to make you a lot more likely to think, yeah, maybe sitting down and working on my music, once I can see the reward and picture the reward, I'm more likely to sit down and do the work now. Now, thirdly, a really common thing that happens with these points of resistance, especially if they come up a lot, is you might start to wonder, is this for me? Is this actually what I want to do? Can I be bothered to do this? Like maybe this has been so hard, I'm coming up against so many points of resistance, maybe I don't actually want this as much as I thought I did. You need to squish that idea, okay? So from the previous step, remember your why. You might not enjoy sitting down and learning how to do MIDI shortcuts in Ableton, but you do want the outcome. You know that this is a stepping stone to get to something that you really want, so you're going to need to put in the work. And once you've got your track and you're playing your track out, you are absolutely going to enjoy those benefits. So squish the idea that this isn't for you, because as long as you've got a solid why and you've set the right stepping stones, i.e. the why is I want to play my tracks out to thousands of people, progress my career, and the way to get there, the stepping stones, is music production, then this stepping stone absolutely is for you. So squish that idea of maybe this isn't for me, maybe I don't want this. And I've saved the most hippie point until last for you. But the last point is don't beat yourself up when you do come up against one of these points of resistance and fail. So if, for example, a friend is in town that you haven't seen for ages, and that coincides with you doing one of these music production sessions, go and see your friend, go and enjoy yourself, and then say maybe as a sort of way to negate that, I'm not going to drink tonight and I'm going to get up early and I'm going to do my music production session then. So I still get to do my session and I still get to see my friend and I feel fresh and clear-headed in the morning. Maybe that's the sort of negotiation that you make with yourself. But even when you do just miss one of the sessions because life gets in the way, don't beat yourself up about it. The more you do beat yourself up about missing a session here or there, missing a gym session, missing a healthy meal, the more sort of negative emotion you're going to wrap up around this thing, and the more sort of just bad energy you're going to wrap up around this thing. So the more you just accept that life got in the way and tell yourself that you're excited for the next one, you're going to sit down and you're going to really go at it, the better the sort of whole experience of learning this new skill or building this new habit is going to be for you. So that's definitely a more left field sort of hippie one, but I think it's a really, really important one for when you do come up against these points of resistance. So let's have a quick recap. Number one, recognize that you've just had a point of resistance. Say, okay, this is what John spoke about. I'm trying to do something new, so there's always going to be an equal and opposite force trying to stop me from doing that because this is a meaningful outcome. So recognize the point of resistance. Number two, remember your why. Really, really get viscerally into your why. Picture yourself at the finish line, and that's hopefully going to give you that little spur to overcome this point of resistance. Number three, you need to squish the idea that maybe this isn't for you. Just because it's difficult, just because you're coming up against points of resistance, just because there are things that you would rather do than work on this new skill or this good habit, that doesn't mean that this isn't for you, and that doesn't mean that you can't do this. You're just coming up against the resistance that everyone that's come before you has come up against and overcome when they could. And finally, don't beat yourself up if you miss a session here or there. It really doesn't matter. As long as you're overcoming these points of resistance more often than not, then you're still going to be making positive progress towards what you want to do. So there we go, guys. I hope that was helpful for you. So one last thing, if you need a place to ask questions about music production, whether that's basic sort of beginner questions or more advanced questions, and you're not sure where to ask those questions and get reliable feedback, then I'd like to point you towards the Music Production Explained Facebook group, which is a completely free group. You can find a link in the description below. I'm active in there every single day to answer people's questions. And what I also do is I do a live stream every Wednesday at 8 p.m. UK time. I put a post up 24 hours beforehand. You can submit questions. And then if you can't make the stream, that's no problem. What I do is I just tag you when I answer your questions so that you can pull up the replay and just say, oh, okay, 15 minutes, that's when my question was answered. Come in, grab your answer and go. So you just need to pre-submit a question, don't even need to show up, and you can get your answer. So if that would be helpful for you, as I say, the link is in the description below for you to go ahead and join that. Thank you very much for spending a bit of time with me today. Really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.